how do I know if I'm too late to start planning for when I stop working?
Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, it's not about when you started, it's about where you are now.
You're not behind just because you didn't start in your 20s. You're only behind if you don't actually have clarity. So the stress came from comparing, not actually from what was real.
Picture building a house. You wouldn't start with the walls or the roof, you'd start with the foundation, right?
Financial peace doesn't come from, like, again, hitting a magical number in your account. It actually just comes from knowing that you actually have a map. Hey there, welcome to our podcast, Keeping It Real, where we talk about real financial problems with real people and come up with real financial solutions. My name is Irene Meyer.
And I'm Philip Villanueva. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, are you already behind on planning for life after work, or could today actually be the best time to start? That's what we're going to talk about because so many people ask us, how do I know if I'm too late to start planning for when I stop working?
That is such a common concern. And in this video, we're going to tackle three of the biggest questions people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s ask us as financial professionals. First, how do you really know if you've fallen behind or if there's still time to build a strong plan? Second, what are the most strategic financial moves you should focus on right now to protect your income, lifestyle, and legacy? And third, how can you create a clear, step-by-step roadmap that gives you confidence no matter where you start?
Yeah, like when people ask us, is it too late to start planning? We actually always think about what happens at the doctor's office, right, Phil?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true because most of us really we don't go in for checkups unless we're already feeling bad. And by the time you're sitting at the table, you can almost hear the voice in your head saying, "I should have gone years ago. I probably waited too long."
Yeah. But, here's the thing, doctors don't say, too late, nothing we can do. What they actually do is run tests, figure out, your current numbers, and then they give you a plan to get healthier from, that point forward.
That would be awesome though. Could you imagine if you walked into the doctor's office and they said, "Sorry, you're too late. Go home. You're gonna die."
Yeah, yeah, that would suck.
That would really true. Okay. And you know what? Money works exactly the same way. Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, it's not about when you started. It's about where you are now and what steps you're willing to take going forward. The earlier you get that financial checkup, the more options and peace of mind you'll have.
That actually kind of reminds me, we work with someone, right? Do you remember who avoided looking at their finances for years because they were literally just scared of what they would find? And when we finally actually sat down with them, it wasn't actually as bad as they thought. And then once we started to lay out a plan, their stress just, like, you could just see it on their face just melt away. Do you remember that, Phil?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. And you know what? It's the same thing with a lot of things that people do. And we're gonna go back to the doctor thing. A lot of times you're not feeling good and you don't want to go to the doctor because you're scared of the bad news. Hey, but then when you actually
Yeah.
get there, it's not that bad. And it's just, if you just make some minor adjustments now, you're gonna be better in the short term and for the long term, right? And it's the exact same thing with money.
Yeah, exactly the same. And like so many times we'd sit down with people and you could see the stress on their face. You could feel it through the camera. And it's easy for us to kind of just see what the problem is and just kind of come up with a solution. So I guess when we look at this whole thing, let's start with really the big question, like, how do you know if you're really behind?
Right? Because a lot of people assume they're behind just because they're seeing friends posting about retirement accounts, college funds, on social media, or just in conversation, they're talking like they're all set.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the truth is, and you could probably agree with me, Phil, you're not behind just because you didn't start in your 20s. You're only behind if you don't actually have clarity. Like, think of it like a financial checkup. You have to look at the basics. Do you have protection in place, like insurance or an emergency fund? Do you know what's left after your bills each month? Like, are you consistently putting something away for your future?
Yeah. And notice we didn't say a certain number, right? It's not about hitting someone else's target. It's about knowing your numbers and having a plan moving forward, right? Knowing having a direction towards your destination.
Yeah, I think of one client who thought they were behind because their friends were maxing out retirement accounts. Like they were just, I guess they had a lot of money in their retirement accounts. And when we actually looked at their particular numbers, they were actually on track for the lifestyle they actually wanted. So the stress came from comparing, not actually from what was real.
Yeah. And you know what? We're all guilty of comparison, even comparing savings to a buddy of mine. Then I realized, well, he's got no kids, no mortgage, a totally different situation than I have, right? And so comparing made literally no sense. And so once I stopped doing that, I felt better about where I personally was even.
Yeah, I think this is where a lot of people go wrong. They think investing is the first step, right, Phil?
Right. But if you don't have protection in place, growth can crumble. Picture building a house. You wouldn't start with the walls or the roof. You'd start with the foundation, right? And in financial terms, that foundation is protecting your income, your lifestyle, and your family. Things like insurance, disability coverage, and emergency funds. If those aren't in place, it doesn't matter how good your investments are. One setback can wipe it all out.
Yeah, I'll never forget one family we worked with who skipped life insurance because they thought investing was more important. Then when spouse got sick and really had to stop working, without protection, they literally drained their savings almost like overnight.
I actually had this conversation with a client literally yesterday because
Oh,
they are delaying and delaying and delaying. They're approved, everything is done, but they're delaying signing off because they're worrying about, adding an extra, the way they see it, payment to their budget. We've already budgeted it all out. It's already set up. Their plan. But what it is they're not following the budget that's been laid out. They're still spending their money the way they were doing it pre-financial plan, right? And
oh,
so
yeah.
so they're saying, well, I'm not caught up yet. I can't get started. So I literally had this conversation. I gave them the examples. I had a client who delayed on getting their stuff put in place. And they said, you know what? Just give me 3 more months. I'll have my ducks in line in 3 more months. Yeah. Literally 2 months into that 3 months, they got diagnosed.
No.
Yeah, 2 months into the 3 months, I got diagnosed and had to go through medical treatments and everything of that nature. Right. Fast forwarding a year, now they're so financially strapped and burdened by the cost of everything, right, that they've had to go through that they don't know how to get out of it. Right. They're so financially burdened, they don't know how to get out of it. They would have had everything in place because it was something that was not known and all of a sudden just happened. Like it just occurred. They started not feeling good. All of a sudden they went to the doctor, boom, 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 everything started going into place. But had they literally 2 months previous set everything up, they would have been good. They would have been, at least on the financial end, they would have been good and not having a year down the road, having the financial burdens. And I tried to explain this to somebody literally just yesterday, right? On the flip side, we had a client who did that emergency fund and coverage, right? When they were laid off, they didn't panic. They had months of breathing room to find the right next job instead of grabbing the first one that came along. That's the power of protection first.
Yeah. So what do you actually do starting today?
We like to keep this really clear and practical. Here are the 4 moves that make the biggest impact right away. Number one, build or top up an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, right? Number two, protect your income with life and disability insurance. Number three, pay down high interest debt. And number four, start consistent contributions to retirement account. And the key word there is consistent.
Yeah, and notice these aren't actually really complicated. They're not about chasing the hottest stock. They're about giving yourself breathing room, protection, and momentum.
Yeah. I can think of one person who started with just $50 a month into savings. It didn't feel like much, but after a year, they had 600 plus, right? Some extra they've added in. That cushion gave them confidence to tackle their debt next.
Yeah, same here for us. Paying off just one credit card changed everything. It was like the smallest balance, but getting rid of it really gave them momentum. That progress, really small, really big, really doesn't have to be big to actually matter.
And what this gives you, and a lot of people don't think about this, it gives you confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, because really financial peace doesn't come from like again hitting a magical number in your account. It actually just comes from knowing that you actually have a map.
Yeah, I mean, most of people avoid this because of fear, right? And that starting it's going to give you the confidence, take away the fear, and you're willing to take the next step. That's why we tell people to focus on three things: clarity, consistency, and accountability. Get clear on your plan, stay consistent with your habit, and find some accountability, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a financial coach, so you don't drift off track.
I think we're both the same way. I can imagine we're both the same way. When we sit down with our clients, we are actually a coach in their corner. I mean, I know you have coaching experience. So we're not not here to calm down on any of our clients about what they've been doing is wrong. We're actually there to help them celebrate the wins and encourage them to see the bigger picture. You know, paying off one credit card, setting aside that first $500, you know, getting the right insurance in place for sure. Like, these milestones are proof that they're not stuck or you're not stuck. You're moving forward.
Yeah. It reminds me of one client who checked in every month, right? And just saving $200 every month. After a year, they had $2,400 plus, right? And more importantly, a habit in place. Nothing
Mhm.
flashy, but like they felt confident. They felt unstoppable now.
Yeah, and here's where life stage really matters, and this is to our viewers out there. I think if you're in your 30s, you're probably, you know, juggling kids and debt, so your focus is building good habits right here. Now, if you're in your 40s or 50s, you might feel like you're playing catch up, but the tools are actually built for that, like higher contribution limits to retirement accounts, right?
Yeah, and don't forget this. Even if you're just starting in your 40s or 50s, you could still have 20 or 30 years of growth ahead of you. That's a lot of time for consistency to work in your favor.
100%. Like for me, it was having accountability. I'm great at drifting if I'm on my own. Once I actually had someone checking in, and I mean, Phil, you're really good at this, like checking in, making sure things are kind of happening. Even very small steps felt really solid, and over time, building confidence, like even in me, really worked. So really, at this point, you know, it's not about being too late. It's really about starting where you are, protecting the foundation, and really building the momentum step by step.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Knowing what to do is only half the battle. The real question is, how do you actually get these steps put into motion and make them stick?
Exactly. And that's why in our next video, we're going to be breaking down the actual practical side, how to take what you just learned and turn it into an actual plan you can follow. We'll walk you through the tools, the priorities, and habits that make this doable for real families.
So if you're serious about moving from feeling behind to feeling confident, go watch that next video. It's the natural next step to everything we just covered.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, everybody.